Hey everyone. So in the previous lecture, we discussed about the get metadata activity just so that we can get all the information from our on-premises server. Now, because we need to process each and every files which is coming inside the child items, we need to use something called as a for each loop. If you can recall in our PowerShell session, we discussed about for each so that we can go through every particular file and check if that particular date is matching with the current date or not. That's what we want to do. That means we want to sequentially go to every file that is present inside the child item. Okay. So I'll be using something called as over here called as for each loop. So I'll be dragging this over here. And this is what on success, I'll say map it to this one. I just need to target that once this activity is successful, we will come over here inside this for each loop. All right. Now I'll go to this for each loop this time over here. And this is, let's say, for each one only, and go to the settings. So we want to do it sequentially, one by one. Okay. So I click on sequentially, and it's asking me which items you want for each loop to process. So there is an option over here called as add a dynamic content. So I click on this dynamic content. Now over here, you can see that the activity outputs. Our first activity, that is the get metadata. What are the outputs that are coming? Do you want that output only? Yes, the output, something called as child items I need from the previous activity that I ran. If you cancel it, if you will go to this let's get metadata activity and go to the journal section, when we ran this particular thing, you saw that there is something called as the child item which was coming right inside it. Now inside this for each loop, we will simply say that we need all the child items. That means list of all the files. Okay, so I select this. Now this is how it gets converted to an expression. At activity, whenever the things are coming from an activity, this would be the symbol at activity. And what is the activity name? Get metadata one dot output. Inside the dot output, there is actually a thing is coming, an array is coming called as child items. Okay, that's what it is coming over here. So I click on OK. Now let's wait for it. All right. So we have selected this one that we need the output. Basically, we want to go through every particular CSV file which is coming from this metadata activity. Now, inside that, I told you that we have a condition. We want to see if it is all the file state. We'll be first of all extracting those CSV, the first 10 characters of it to see if it is matching with the current date or not, right? So we have a conditional statement inside a for each loop. Before it iterates, we want that once it iterates, we want to check that if it is matching with today's date or not. That's what we need to do, right? So we'll go to the activity section over here inside the for each loop, and we will select if condition. As you can recall, we did it in our PowerShell if condition for each loop to check if it is matching with today's date or not. That's what we need to do it over here. All right. So now I'll be using this true condition over here, the true activity that we want to do. Let's say I go back to first of all my for each loop, and inside that activity I want to perform, add a dynamic content. Now what we want in this for each loop basically to do, so inside that I'll write my condition now. This would be my if condition. If condition, if this is the condition that what I want. So basically the condition is if at the rate, now there is a function called as over here equals equals. That's quite similar to the condition that we discussed in PowerShell. If it is matching is equivalent to this particular thing or not, then do this, right? So this is our condition. If equals, now we want basically to compare those CSV file that we had in on-premises servers, right? We want to say if this is matching with the current date or not, right? So there is a method called as substring. Substring. Now it accepts, you can see that this particular method is actually accepting the two values over here, and in fact the three values over here. Okay, let's wait for it. All right. So three things it is accepting. This is the one, second, and third. Now let's go back to first of all our CSV files that's there on the on-premises file server. Let's go back. So this is our on-premises file server is there, and if I'll go back to my C drive, which is actually inside the folder one, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up to 10 only we need so that we can match it with the today's date. Because rest thing is actually coming as the time. We just want to map it or match it with the date actually, right? So that's where the first 10 characters are important for us, right? The 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The first 5 characters is first 10 characters is nothing but we need it for our testing purpose. Okay. So we saw that in the substring method, we can access the characters of this entire string. Okay, let's go back to the portal now. Now, over here, the first one is from where actually you want to extract basically this substring is. So currently, child item in the metadata activity, we use two properties. One is child item, one is item.name, right? So actually, all the individual files are coming inside this item name, right? So I'll say over here, item name. From the item name, that means one by one the item is coming. Extract the 0 comma 10. What does it mean? That means from the 0th index till the first 10 characters. That means from the 0th index you need to take the first 10 characters. It's quite similar to the PowerShell substring method. The first one is the index value, and from that index value how many characters you want to basically take it up. That's what it is doing. So item.name means for each loop basically will take one item one by one, and that's coming to this item. If you can recall, item.name is nothing but the inside the for each is $server one by one. That's what we are trying to do. So this is our method. This particular thing is done up to substring method. Now we are trying it with what it should be matching it with, because equals requires two arguments. One is this is the one that match it with date. So that is coming as a date. Now there is an inbuilt function is there called as UTC now. You can see that over here, UTC now. Now there is a problem with this UTC now function. I'll tell you. This UTC now actually have everything, timestamp, seconds, and everything, but it's not, it will never match to our current date. Now, from this UTC now as well, we want only the date, and in the format of DD, the YYYYMMDD. That's what our format is, because all of our CSV files are being stored in the format of YYMMDD. Right, so there is a function I can wrap it with UTC now called as format date time. Format date. Okay, and I'll map it over here. Let's say to UTC now. Let's wait for it and show you how it is done. So we'll map it, format date. Actually, the function name is date time. And we want to say that please format the UTC now. Let's say the function name that will go inside this is UTC now. I'll explain it, don't worry, UTC now. And we are mapping it with, and we want the format in the form of YYYY capital DD. This is our format is. Let's remove this equal to sign as well. Just 1 second. We need this equals to that it will be completed. So let's try to say it with single quotes. All right. Now this is the expression. Now let's understand this expression. So we are saying get the substring from this item.name and just grab the first 10 characters. That means starting from 0th index, get the first 10 characters. That is the actually nothing but the from that CSV file, the first 10 characters are the date. And over here we are saying you need to try to find out if it is equal to the UTC now will tell you basically the current date and time, but we want to format it and we just need date out of it. This is the and date we need it in the format of YYMMDD. That's what we need. So we are trying to see the comparison. We are trying to do that comparison over here, right? Format date time, UTC now is the current date time. Now we want to format it in the form of YYMMDD. And do remember, you need to put capital M over here. If you will put it small m, that would be different meaning. So capital M stands for actually nothing but the month over here. So that is what you need to understand over here. Let's click on OK section over here. Now we'll be doing one more thing over here. All right, so activity is done. Now in the upcoming lecture, what we'll be doing, if the condition is true, we'll be filling up these parameters now. So I hope so far this part is clear. Thank you, everyone.